So my name's Justine. I live and work in Lymington. I have a retail business, my own shop, and I design and make my own range of ladies' clothing. I sell fabric and textiles and homewares, etc. And I'm very careful about how I source my products. They need to be ethical, sustainable, and a bit of a difference about them. So that's my day job, I guess. But I spent 20 odd years in business, probably 15 of those working in as a business development manager. And when I finally got kicked out of the corporate world and I said goodbye to it all 5 years ago, I thought I want to do something for myself. So that was the shop. But I also have a real passion for teaching. I've done an awful lot of like guest lectures, etc., I suppose, at universities to support young people into their careers and help them develop the skills they need, because education doesn't really do that. It doesn't provide you with the soft skills that you need to survive these days. And I find that that is also carried on into business. A lot of managers get promoted, but they aren't given the skills they need to be able to deal with people or leadership or strategy. Um, so I ended up with good colleagues of mine I'd been working with many years beforehand, and I became a tutor for them. And I deliver the level 5 leadership and management qualification. So I do that 2 days a week, and then the rest of the week I'm here in my shop sewing up a storm. So two completely what seem like unrelated subjects and projects. But if I hadn't had taken my own leadership qualification at a master's level before I did this, I wouldn't be in business. It's as simple as that. It gave me all of the tools I needed, not just on a practical level, but on an emotional intelligence level to be able to deal with this. So um, thank you very much for coming along and listening to me witter on. So hopefully I can give you something that is a nugget of information, something that you'll take away. We'll see. You tell me at the end. But it's astonishing that 79% of employees quit their job due to a lack of appreciation, and that people lack empathy. And it's interesting because I think it's something we all think we've got. But when I start teaching people about emotional intelligence, they do learn something. And I think we need to start, if we're looking at management, by understanding ourselves first. So if we can know who we are, we can then judge others better. We can help them be better as well. So this whole idea of leadership and management, it is around understanding finances and strategy and operational planning and managing change. But the only thing that you're really managing in all of these elements is people. So if you don't have that connection to your people, you're sunk, I think, as before you even start. So key things, the 19 traits of ineffective managers. Some of these are, I see them every day. I see it all of the time. And when I teach my students, I've been doing this for 5 years now, I've taught many business people. They're all people like yourselves. They're all either in their own businesses, they're in small businesses, corporate businesses, whatever they might be. But number 5, the tendency to micromanage, is a top one. And we don't recognize that the fact that we don't delegate is micromanagement in a way, because I know what I'm good at. I know what I'm really good at. I know what I'm really rubbish at. And I can't force my brain, because I have ADHD, into doing the things I'm rubbish at. I will just switch off. So it was a powerful learning curve for me to realize, right, these are the things you can't do. So go and get someone else to help you do them. And it would be no point me then trying to take over because I want control. I've paid, or I've got somebody with the skills. So let them develop their skills. Let them show their skills. So the part for me in micromanagement is about delegation as well. But you can see that you've got 2 entries there for empathy, lack of empathy, and poor emotional intelligence. Being an insufficient communicator. These are all kind of the top 19 traits of ineffective managers. So you need to ask yourselves, Who have you got on your team? Who helps you out? What do you do? How do you go about these things? If you were going to score yourself against these 19 things and you were going to be honest with yourself about it, which ones would you pick? Um, because I've got ADHD, and because my personality type is an activist, I do actually have poor communication skills, interestingly, which I didn't realize until I started teaching people. But it's because I get so passionate for my subject that I've got this burning desire to deliver it all at once. And I think that everybody else is following along with me, and they're really not. So poor communication skills. Um, Again, until I took my own qualification in this subject, setting clear goals and clear directions, the understanding of actually having mission, vision, and values. If we work on our own, do we need mission and vision and values? Yes, we do. We need a clear statement that says what this business is here to do and where it's going to go in the future. Because if you can't articulate those two things, you'll have no strategy in between to fill in the gaps. There will be nothing to take you from today's desire of being what we are today to tomorrow's goal of what we want to be tomorrow. So we need to plan, and we need those different steps. So I think actually is key that we all have a mission and vision, because when you work on your own, when you're a small business, most of the things that we do are born of a passion of ours. They're things that are very close to our hearts. And you would think it would be quite easy to articulate what our what our job is, what we do. But as I say, mission, vision, and values are real key elements to establishing a strategy. From a strategy, you can work out your operational goals and really hone it down to what do I need to do today to achieve my 5-year aim. So there's a lot to be said for having proper goals, being able to articulate where do I want to be in 5 years' time and how am I going to get there? And it's also key that as business leaders, you can communicate that really well to others, because people don't just blindly follow people. The only thing you need to be a leader as such is a follower. And to be a follower, you need to believe in that person in front of you. So, and again, I think not talking about politics or anything, this is a mismatch that we might have in society with people who we think are leaders, but who are just managing. Politicians for years have just been managing the country. They've not been leading us anywhere. So perhaps clear goals would be great for the Labour and the Conservative and everybody else. The one also that I struggled with initially when I first set up my own business was the me versus the we mindset. I'd been trained and trained and trained to be we, and I'm going to do this one backwards. So it's very difficult to say me, I do this, because I hid behind the bigger we. So sometimes when you are working on your own business, it is all just me. But actually, just think about the others that support you, who are there for you, your community around you. That's what turns it into the we. So again, mission, vision, and values. What's your place in the community, and how and who is supporting you, and who and how are you supporting others, will help you manage that it's all me or it's all we, and get the balance between it's us. We've probably all heard this one before, but it's absolutely true. And I did a bit of research the other day on my prior students, and I've had over 100 now, and 70% of them are no longer in the same job they were in when they were with me. And most of them is because they have actually been promoted in their current jobs. They've actually taken that next seat up, which is what I was training them to do. But a huge proportion of them, about 47%, have left their companies because they realised whilst doing their training with me that the organisation they worked for was never going to change or recognise that person's worth and what they brought to the organisation. So they went elsewhere. For me as a trainer, that's amazing. That's exactly what I want to do in either situation. I'm either training somebody to get the next level of job or training them to go and look elsewhere and engage in something that they really do and can make a difference in. And there's again, that's that old quote. I don't want to train people because I don't want them to leave. But what if you don't? They'll probably leave anyway. So train people to the best of their ability, and also train yourself at the same time. We only grow with our skills. some of the things, you know, for skills in a manager, what is it that you need? I'm actually going to ask you at this point, what is it that you want if you have people working with you who are managers, or even in your own skill set? What are the top things that you want in that set of skills? If you were reviewing someone's CV, what is going to leap out at you?
The ability to make decisions on their own.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. That's a big one. And a lot of people don't have the confidence to do that because, again, if you don't delegate properly and give people the opportunity to flex their wings, and make mistakes in an environment where, you know, for me, I don't know how many mistakes I've made, but probably at least 60 between this morning and now. That's just an opportunity for me to go, well, that wasn't the solution. Then let's try something else. Obviously, Kat, you work in the NHS, so mistakes there might lead to bigger issues, but you do need the platform. That's what research and development's all about, essentially. So yeah, making decisions and understanding that process.
I think I'm sorry, Kat, please.
So I've been in various different management type roles within the NHS. I've worked in the NHS for 17 years, and I'm part-time now after having a baby and obviously building my own business. But I think for me, there's something which I found over my years of development into management roles and various trainings and things that I went on, is that people don't always understand the difference between a manager and a leader, like what leadership and management is, and that actually there's a real there's like a significant difference. And I think it's quite I personally, you know, you try and be as good a leader as possible to inspire your team, to use to their strength, but also, like you were saying earlier, recognize maybe where you're not so strong, and you know, harness the skills of the team around you, but also developing them, you know, to become and move on. And you know, I think some managers always used to say, oh, you know, some managers or leaders like to keep people in the positions they're in if they're good at what they do, because they don't want to lose that, they don't want a gap to fill, and things like that. And I think people feel that a lot when you speak to, I'm in a project management role now, so my role's sort of flipped around a little bit, and I'm like, well, actually, no, if you're a good leader and a good manager combined, actually, if your team are going on to bigger and better things, that shows a good sign of a good leader and a good manager. So actually, you know, that's kind of what you should be aiming for, not keep people in a box and try and keep them where they are.
I very much agree with you, because that leads to the we've always done it this way mindset. And it's natural to be afraid of change. We all are, but it's how you manage that. It's your response to change. It's how and again, as a manager, it's how you communicate that change, and it's how well you deliver that, what is in it for them, to get them on board. But you're right. I mean, you know, that one of the greatest pleasures as a manager and a leader is developing people so that they do leave you, so that then you can do it again with somebody else. You know, helping someone uncover their hidden talents, or helping them to develop the skills that they have, is quite fantastic. And that is why people teach. That is, and when we are in our roles, actually there's an element of all of us that are teachers, or at least should be.
There's a massive, in the NHS, I would say the biggest problem is communication from top down, levels down, that filter down, and it gets so diluted. And I think I see it a lot more as a project manager when we know, right, okay, like this, when we go to the admin teams who are on the ground level, they're the ones in the thick of it, in the trenches, if you like, and you sort of say, oh, are you aware of this? No. You know, and those key messages just aren't getting down, or they're very diluted, or it's the wrong information. And it's probably, I would say, one of the biggest frustrations is just poor or lack of communication. And yeah, just anyway.
I always find it nice when people do use their initiative. You sort of come back in from a meeting, you've been out, and one of your colleagues says, right, I've done X or I've done Y, and it's got a positive result. Or they've just gone that little bit further and thought something through and said, well, the what ifs, or, you know, what would myself expect my wife as a co-director expect as well. When that's delivered and hits the mark, it's always warming to see that they've gone off and done the right thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you know, we all want extra, whatever it might be. If we're going out for a meal, we'd like extra. If we're going shopping, then we want an extra discount. And we're the same in our jobs. We want extra from our staff. We don't define what that extra is or how they're going to do it. And that's the behaviours part of it. You know, that is there's knowledge, skills, and behaviours. You can teach anybody knowledge and skills, but if they don't understand the behaviour that's needed or the values that you're working towards, then it can be very difficult to actually drive that extra. Which again, if you have a clear vision and mission, hopefully you're attracting people who have the same values as you and want to engage automatically. So they will have those ideas. They will want to join in with whatever it is that you're doing. I think for me, the key one on here, the one I always get asked about most of the time, is actually conflict management. Managers, I've come across a lot that shy away from issues rather than dealing with it. You know, actually sitting down and saying, okay, so what is the problem? Where has this come from? How are you feeling? You know, how has this arisen? It can be very difficult, and we think as managers we don't have to do that, but we do. In fact, we have to do it more as adults than we ever did for children at school. So the whole sort of conflict resolution piece is one I'm always asked about, but it's always the emotional intelligence as well. As we think that we're all incredibly aware of ourselves. And at the same time, we're also not. And I know I'm guilty of it. When every time I teach my students and I go through that first unit, I do the exercises along with them. And it's always interesting having the discussion. I know what my weaknesses are, but am I actually working on them currently? I have to admit, no.
Justine, Caroline's got her hand up.
Yeah, I'm on mute. No, yeah. No. For me, it's the emotional intelligence. A lot of the work with young people is that they're a bit at sea and they get themselves into trouble. And I think that the master chef person at the moment is an example of not being aware, not being clued up on how their behaviour is going down. And with university students, so many of normally the young men feel very in trouble and anxious because of a sexual encounter, maybe. You might able to brush it off, but they're so afraid that somebody's going to report them. So that handling that bit is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. Clear guidelines, calling things out. You know, we've all got policies and procedures in the workplace, but if as a manager you don't manage with consistency and use those policies and procedures, then it's not surprising that the lines get blurred. You know, it's one of the key things that actually comes up time and time again is that emotional intelligence, not understanding what can and can't be done, or not wanting to say this or that or the other. So you just then tend to leave it. Then what you get is an even bigger issue and an even bigger problem. So there's some key things there that are the top things from business people around the globe of what they want in a manager. So again, you know, take a look at that and ask yourself, do you have all of these things? Could any of them be improved? And how can you do it? What is it that you can do to go about this? So I've mentioned very briefly, but I deliver the Chartered Management Institute Level 5 qualification in leadership and management. That's equivalent to a foundation degree. So I'm taking people through the first year of their university. It is an academic qualification, but it is also incredibly practical because it's looking at who said what does this model mean? What is this theory doing? What is it doing in my business? Am I doing this in my business? Could I use this to improve my business? So whilst I teach that underpinning theory, what I also take you through are the practical exercises to interrogate your business, to understand your external influences, your internal influences, your culture, your mission, vision, and values, your attitude to change, how to plan a change program, how to communicate what it should be communicated and when. And the qualification focuses on 52 different knowledge skill areas. You gain those behavioural areas yourself through that emotional intelligence piece. And it covers 14 key duties of an effective manager and leader. These are some of the duties. I won't go through all of them because I've got the information links at the end and you can look at that yourself if you're interested. But I think just to pull out some of these things, things about analysing, interpreting and cascading data, understanding data trends and analysis and reporting on KPIs. We are probably all pretty savvy at creating KPIs for our business, but what we're probably not so savvy about is really measuring the quality of it. Sometimes we measure our KPIs by rote, but we don't actually interrogate the quality side enough in terms of actually, how did I feel doing that? Or how have they felt using my service? What are the queries, complaints, the issues I've had? Who is coming back time and time again? Things like that. We are so used to these days to, gosh, I had an every parcel earlier on, and 5 minutes later, a little, email popped in. How was your delivery driver? And I felt tempted to write back saying, well, he got the wrong house, so not too impressed. But we're quite used to those things. They don't mean anything anymore. And we've let that slip into our businesses as well. We don't look at our metrics and our data. And sometimes we don't go out there and do the demographic checking and the other metric data for other companies and why they're successful and what we can learn from them. So it's not just that looking at our own companies, it's looking at others and making sure we, as business leaders in our own fields, we have to do absolutely everything unless you're lucky enough to be able to employ people who focus on marketing or focus on data statistics analysis. So there's a lot of things within these duties that do surprise a lot of my managers when they come to me. Oh, I didn't realize I was going to have to do that. Interpreting and complying with relevant legislation and regulation, taking people back to read their own employee handbook and how well they understand it is key, because that again creates the bridge to being able to take action with something, call something out, say to somebody, actually, your behavior wasn't quite what I expected today. What's up with you? How can we help? What can we do about this? So there's a lot of things within these duties that have been, again, these are all from the apprenticeship website. So this is if anybody knows about the apprenticeship route, these are programs that have been worked on by lots and lots of different industry business leaders. There's been a lot of feedback and input from actual businesses to come up with these set of key skills that are required. It's not just me. So the units that I teach through the apprenticeship route are actually understanding yourself, developing that emotional intelligence, using psychometric tests, gaining 360 feedback, lots of personal reflection, etc. We look at using all of that information then on your teams and understanding their characteristics and how you can best motivate them, how you can build a training needs analysis from it. Then we look at mission, vision and values, structure, leadership, governance, all of those sorts of things for your business. It takes a look at managing change, so those internal and external factors that impact business, understanding what is it that we will need to do to change, how would we plan that. Creating and delivering those operational plans, so taking that mission, vision, values, strategy down into 12 months, 6 months, a week. Individual SMART targets. How are we going to make sure this individual knows how they link to what it is we're here to do? Stakeholder relationships, negotiation, influencing, collaborative working, all of these lovely things that Matthew's actually doing here with the New Forest Business Partnership. How, these are the things that we're out there doing, or all of these things. Do we do them so well in our own business? Sometimes not. Takes a look at the demographics of our business, our marketing aspects, and interrogating some of that data. Project management, looking at that project life cycle, using management tools, etc. Finance, are the key elements. Those are the main units covered. Why I use the Chartered Management Institute, because if you're a quantity surveyor, then you'll probably be a member of RICS. And if you are qualified in your field of expertise, then you would like the stamp that says that. A lot of us still have our BA Hons or MA on after our letters, names on LinkedIn to say, this is the level of education I've got. This is the group I belong to. And the Chartered Management Institute is exactly the same. I'm a chartered manager. I'm just about to go for my fellowship. And it's important because we're upholding a set of professional standards. we're developing that professional set of standards, we're engaging in that professional set of standards and actually passing them on to our staff, employees, to help them become better in business. As I say, for me, it wasn't just about managing people. It enabled me to start my own business. It gave me the confidence and the strength to go out there and say, I'm doing this now. We can deliver this commercially. So you can take units or bespoke training, and that can get paid for via your company training budget. Or we can deliver this training via the apprenticeship, where you would do all 8 units, and it's free. Because it's under the apprenticeship levy. If you're a small business like most of you that I'm speaking to are now, you actually only pay 5% of the cost. So that's some £450 for £9,000 worth of training. Not bad. Don't know where else you're going to get a university degree for that kind of money from. These are the other topics that we also deliver courses on. So at the moment I'm speaking with my Boom hat on. That's the company I'm working for, Boom Training Limited. And they deliver training in data analysis, marketing, digital media, social skills, business administration, finance, etc. So I've put all of the links into their website. I also am happy to talk people through any sort of specific issues they might have at any point in time, because I've been doing this for a long time, and the units that this apprenticeship covers everything you need. So I've kind of got a lot of knowledge and information that I've stored up, but also a lot of contacts that I've made in my business world and lots of issues that have come up that have helped other people sort out. So any questions about anything I said, or any kind of conversation anybody wants to start about any of those topics?
Thanks, Justine. Do you want to stop sharing so we can see everyone?
Yeah.
We'll send these, obviously the recording will be available for everyone to watch those again, but thanks for bringing up a whole range of issues there. I guess one of the challenges sometimes is persuading people to just go on courses like this in the first place, and sort of the value of it. We've struggled at NFBP with apprenticeships for many years. Our worst attended event ever was a session on apprenticeships, and one person came and 7 providers. So it's just not good. So there's all sorts of challenges around that.
Huge challenges.
Whether that's around value and what people think they're getting from it. Also, some people are just scared of going back to school.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, Sam may have a view on that as well, because I know he's gone back to school at the moment, and so it's just interesting.
I mean, I think what puts people off potentially is that association with what the term apprenticeship actually means, because to put someone that's middle-aged or quite a long way through their career into an apprenticeship, there's just something about the attachment to that word that means that people are like, well, surely that's for like 18-year-olds, isn't it? That's what people do at the start of their career. They learn their trade. We have apprentices and have done over as long as we've had the business running, really, particularly in the outdoor activity sort of sector.
Yeah.
And we have and are aware that these opportunities are there for other staff, and it's challenging to get the buy-in. I think that's often what it is. I mean, we did have somebody did go through a higher level course, and they actually found the work quite overbearing when they were trying to also do their day job as well. And I think as an employer, it's quite hard to give as much time as they want, and they need to appreciate that it actually needs to be done in your own time as well as at work. But that was after getting over that first hurdle of convincing somebody that there was actually something to learn, and there could be a developmental angle to it. I'm a lifelong learner, so I'm very much understand the importance of this. I just also think sometimes, I'm on a course at the moment. I think academia, and obviously this is not about your courses, Justine, but I think academia sometimes struggles to keep up with the pace of business. And
I absolutely agree with you 100% on that. Which is why I enjoy delivering this. I worked in the apprenticeship space for a number of years as well. I don't wholly agree with them either. I think that the whole 20% off the job training is ridiculous to manage. And I think that there needs to be a separation from the vocational apprenticeships to the higher apprenticeships that will support people in business. There's a whole different range. After you get to that sort of level 4, the whole style of it changes completely. And you're right, absolutely right. There are some providers that don't deliver the sort of diploma element, that are only delivering the apprenticeship standards. It's a minefield to work out. It really is. One of the things I wish I could change is actually, right, pass it differently. It's not an apprenticeship. This is a level 5 qualification in leadership and management. Hence the reason I didn't mention the word apprenticeships whatsoever in the title, because you can access it differently. But I think if you can get a degree paid for by an apprenticeship levy that's pot sat there, access it, absolutely access it. I've worked with many business people, and I know this is being recorded, but the government aren't listening, and I can get you through it without, you know, yes, we have to record time, etc. Yes, we have to do all of this, but actually, the chief thing is what you're going to get out of it, that learning aspect. It's not how it's packaged. But you're quite right. I've sat at many different, training provider events and trying to get businesses interested in apprenticeships. And it's a killer, because again, there's that connotation there for 18-year-olds, and they've got to be hands-on, and you're missing out on a lot of absolutely excellent training. I took my level 7 master's degree apprenticeship as an apprenticeship. But as I say, if I hadn't, I wouldn't be sat here today in my own business. I can tell you that much for nothing. So I'm just kind of, yes, you can pay for it. Yes, you can do individual units. Yep, you can have bespoke training and anything you like. And in fact, I can run, quick, brief 20-minute sessions over next year on certain aspects of the training, just to give you tasters. But I think there's nothing like doing it all the way through and linking all of those steps to create that one thing at the end.
Yeah, I think that it's just the input. The big thing, when it works well, it's because what they're learning on the program is linked directly to what's happening in the workplace. So you get those light bulb moments of like, oh, that's why we've just learned that. When the two are almost disassociated or unrelated, they're like, why am I learning this? It doesn't apply, it doesn't relate. And I think sometimes there's that, that gap between, I'm doing the Help to Grow program at the moment, and things like this government mandated content gets in the way of the trainers delivering a really high quality training, because they've got to deliver this certain kind of mandated content. Whereas actually the bit that works really well is the discussions, the workshops, the stuff that we're doing business to business, rather than the almost like we're students in a lecture hall getting something kind of fed in,
my approach and Boom's approach is actually that I'm a business coach, and you're having, business coaching hours with me. There is no PowerPoint. That's why, me putting that PowerPoint together it was death, basically, because I just don't do them. The Chartered Management Institute has an amazing learning portal, and it is full of absolutely everything you'll ever need. And because I've been lucky enough to work for 20 years in business and have my own, I get to know whoever's business it is, and can then really relate to what they're doing and make it relevant to that part. I mean, the academic side of it, honestly, I can pull that out of anybody. Because I had to go through it myself, they're sitting there scratching their heads thinking, well, what does examine mean? Why am I examining something? What's the evaluation part? What does analysis mean? So I've kind of navigated those choppy waters as well, but it's more actually, again, like say, the light bulb moments. Okay, that's not what I'm doing in this business. Perhaps I should be doing it. Let's give it a go.
Got a couple of quick observations, and I'll just say that apprenticeships, we're going to continue to do our best for it, including, of course, having an Apprentice of the Year category. And one of Sam's great apprentices was up as a finalist last week, unfortunately up against two equally extraordinarily good candidates. But that's great that there are 3 apprentices I know of now who are in New Forest businesses doing exceptionally well. I'm sure next time Harry's down at Bewley and we'll bump into Ollie, there'll be an interesting exchange about who won. But such is life. He won't be allowed on the river ever again. But
I'm sure they've seen each other passing in boat to boat and what have you. So,
but it's really good that we do our bit to promote training. But and of course, others, I mean, people like Chris have got to put their staff through certain qualifications as well, just to do their job, haven't you? So it's really, really difficult. But I guess what my overall point is, people, and Sam's mentioned lifelong learning. People have got to really want to do something and recognize the value of that. And you know, that we're probably speaking to the converted here, and that's part of the challenge. But you know, we just have to keep doing it as much as we can.